everyone. Welcome back to the Campus Tech Connection podcast. I am Jeff Jackson.
And I'm Laura Pasquini. And all of you should not be surprised to know that we always dabble and delay with tech, so welcome. That's why we're podcasting. Let you know that you can play with tech too, and it might not always work as well.
Yes. And we got a jam-packed show today because there's so much that's happened in the world of technology the last... Is this our first September podcast?
It is our first September podcast. I actually just changed my actual calendar on my board over here to September, and it's September 20th.
Yes.
Time flies when you're starting a semester.
Yes. So I have breaking technology news on a personal front. I don't know why my camera zoomed in right when we started. I don't feel I was this big on the screen before, but.
Because you said important news and went. Reep.
I know. So personal news on the personal technology front is that my phone has finally come to an end. Yes, the screen has shattered, and this phone. If you see this big gash right here on the end, like I dropped this phone on my bicycle going 20 miles an hour. Threw my spokes onto asphalt, and nothing happened to it. Last week, I dropped it from about 3 feet high onto carpet, and then it maybe met its maker. So, which it probably wouldn't meet its maker because that's someone in China, but still, the expression is that the phone is no more.
Okay, so that means Jeff's pretty much on market shopping, like most of us are. So we'll talk about some gadgets and new things happening.
Yeah. You know, you had an article which at the time wasn't as relevant to me, but I need to go back and read because it was about not waiting for the newest and greatest gadget.
Yes.
Because this phone, so I've had this for 2.5 years, and most tech journalists get like new phones every 3 months or something because that's what they do. But for education technology people, we can't necessarily afford that. So I've had this phone for 2.5 years. One, because it has worked as great as good now as since the day I bought it, and two, because I'm kind of cheap and I just can't justify buying a new phone when it works perfectly well.
Hi, Bruce. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone.
Bruce has his fall beard going.
I do.
Yes.
I don't know how long that will last since the hair on my face is outpacing the hair on my head, but I'm going with it.
Excellent. So, Bruce, we're just saying it's September, almost the end of it, and we thought we should podcast because we've been slacking or we've been really super busy at our lives and jobs. We've missed talking to people about tech, but has there been a lot really happening?
No. There's been a lot of hype happening.
Mm-hmm. Tech hype.
That was a great expression, Bruce. There's been a lot of hype.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And not a ton of substance.
But like everyone announced everything in the last 3 weeks, and I guess you announce it now so it can be out to market and by October, November, so people can buy it for the holidays, kind of thing, and you have good numbers ending the year for stockholders.
Yeah, and I know people got excited about the Kindle Fire announcement, the new Kindle Fire. Joe Janice and I went back and forth a little bit. I was not very excited, but he brought up a good point that from the old to the new took a lot of jumps, but it is not an iPad killer at all, and I don't know if it's really meant to be. And if you're a huge Amazon person, it's brilliant for you.
So what's the hubbub around the Kindle Fire? I haven't looked. I know they have different sizes now and different. They have the backlit. I think the paper white is what they're calling it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've heard that's really they buried the lead. Like that's really the most desirable Kindle on their whole brand.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But what's new with the Kindle Fire?
I think the operating system, the screen's different, the power, the data package that they came out with really excited people, where it's, I believe, $50 for the year for 4G, ideally 4G LTE data. But as you dig down deeper in that, the data that you get each month is very small. And somebody, I believe it was TechCrunch, actually looked at that data is X number of movies or X number of web page visits. And so the deal's good if you're not using that a lot. But if you're a heavy user on non-Wi-Fi, you're going to get hosed a bit.
And can we talk about data in general? Because I think data has been changing not only with an e-reader or tablet or whatever, it's changing within our phones. Has anyone heard, like, as we go to 4G or 4G LTE, the data plans are going to be changing, I think.
As far as limitations or speeds?
Limitations or being charged per beyond a certain capacity of bytes. So I don't know if any of you have reached that. Is anyone on the 4G LTE?
No. My phone is not capable of that because, as I said, 2.5 years old. But my new phone might. Bruce, I don't know if you saw my update.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yes, the phone has shattered. But I'm sure my new phone will have that capability.
Well, it also limits you though, because I kind of capped out my data, and I never had that before.
That did happen to me. We moved, and our cable and internet wasn't set up yet, so we were streaming Netflix off my phone, tethering it off my phone. And after a weekend of that, I got a text message from T-Mobile saying that it'll be slower from now on. So I still had data. I wasn't charged extra because I have an unlimited data plan, but I was going to be throttled and not have the full speed of and I only have a 3G connection.
Yeah, and the fact that 4G LTE especially is so much faster, they're saying that people are going to hit that limit really quickly if you're using it, which is interesting. My phone, I'm up for an upgrade. I have a iPhone 4, which I updated to iOS 6 yesterday. And when I say updated, I'm having some problems.
So the downgrade?
The update went brilliantly, super fast, super simple. But then I went into the App Store to update all the apps. And as of today, 2 of those 40 apps actually updated, and the rest are just kind of sitting there. So I don't have quite a brick right now, but I'm having some problems. So my fanboyness took a little bit of a punch in the gut yesterday. And there were some other problems. Some people had their entire data wiped when they went to update.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm just generally, like, with all of these things, the hype, very underwhelmed with the new iPhone 5 and what's on it. It's an engineering marvel. It's beautiful, but great, you got everything smaller. Those are things you celebrate at end-of-the-year reports and engineers conferences.
Yeah.
From a functionality standpoint, give me something new.
So I want to jump back to the Kindle later, and kind of there's implications. That's one tech news that has implications for higher education because of the textbook stuff. But there was a new iPhone announced. So Bruce, will you go for the new iPhone for your upgrade?
Probably, and part of that is, while I'm not that excited about it, everything in my life is Apple. So the integration is great, but there was nothing really about it that made me go, wow. New maps are cool, but then again, like, the old Google Maps are fine. The improvements are they're engineering improvements. The fact that it's thinner and supposedly the thinnest smartphone on the market, like, is nice, but that doesn't make me want to buy the phone anymore. But you could tell they put the time in that the camera is about the same, but they had to engineer it to get it smaller.
Yeah, I don't understand why saying it's the thinnest smartphone on the market is something of value. How is that a selling point?
It's our
well, if you wear skinny jeans and you're a hipster like us, then obviously you want.
So I'm not a hipster. That's why I don't get it.
Okay, no, I'm just joking. No, I don't know. I think it's we always want quicker, lighter, faster, more, more, more. I would like the tech market to take a hiatus for a break.
Like my wife has the Galaxy Nexus S, the first one, the one that got sued over because it looks too much like an iPhone, and it is very like light. Or my phone's very like compact and dense, and I feel like I don't now, but I felt like if I dropped it, it wasn't going to damage it, right? I felt like this is a well-built, structurally built phone. And hers, I feel like I have to be delicate with it because if something happens, it could snap. And it's probably stronger than what it is, but it is so light, it makes me nervous. I never thought, like, this is such a better phone because it's so light.
Yeah. I have that feeling. I went from the Droid X, which died on me, to the iPhone 4. And the Droid X's screen was gigantic, almost too big. And then I loved it. And now Apple has kind of gone that way with a little bit bigger. But I feel this way about this phone. Like, I dropped it this morning and I'm like, oh, there it goes. But, you know, was somewhat lucky. But it's that right now we're doing, you know, lighter, thinner, you know, at some point, like, we're going to go bigger, faster. It's that kind of tech, what's hot right now kind of thing. But
we're coming to the point where we're going to be talking on iPads. We're going to have this gigantic tablet up to our ear, trying to have conversations and not look foolish.
Can I ask a question, Jeff? Why did you say that this will impact higher ed?
Kindle?
Or no, you said Apple would as well.
Oh no, I think the Kindle. I misspoke. I think the Kindle.
Oh, okay.
The Kindle things will.
So I actually read a good article, and I'll share it from the Innovative Educator that talks about, does Apple really care about education?
Yeah.
no.
No.
I go back to my New Year's prediction on Apple with this announcement is that Apple gets boring because they have upgrades in their operating system and software and chipsets and all that stuff. It looks exactly the same. It's just an extra row of icons. They haven't changed the look and feel of their phone operating system since like the first couple. So there's extra icons. Like, so what? I mean, you can see them better. It's a great screen, and they're now starting to do the things that, you know, like the Galaxy S3 has had available for months now. And so I feel like they're getting slow in the development process, and they're just not exciting. And part of that not exciting could be because all the leaks. There's so many leaks now. We know what's coming, but there's just nothing that exciting to me about the operating system anymore.
Yeah, I will find this article. I think it was in the Atlantic Wire, possibly, or TechCrunch, but it was about Apple's operating system, and there's a fancy term for it, but like if you look at the newsstand on here, it looks like a newsstand. If you go to the Notes app, it's the sticky note. It's the idea that they design like for the analog equivalent, and how outdated that is, and how some forward-thinking designers at Apple, who are now with Microsoft and Google, really push back against that. But Jobs and a couple high-ranking designers were like, no, this is kind of our thing. Like one of them, I think it's Pages, actually has like a leather-bound look to it, and they spend so much
leather.
Yeah, they spend so much time trying to perfect that. And the article talks about the new Windows mobile operating system that is actually the most innovative operating system that we've seen in a long time, because it's not trying to replicate the analog. It's trying to say that this is something new. And looking at playing around with the new Fire a little bit, like the way their book layout screen looks, like it looks different.
Yeah.
And that's something that Apple kind of gets me a little bit. And I go to that, I'm like, this is cheesy. Like, you're supposed to be this beautiful, sleek design in your packaging, and then you give me fake stitch leather that was based off Jobs' Gulfstream. Like, it's this big disconnect.
I remember when the first iPad came out and it had their iBooks thing. Everyone's like, oh, this is going to kill the Kindle and all that kind of stuff. It's going to go away. And the only reason people said that is because it had the bookshelf. You can pick your book off the bookshelf, and the pages turn like real pages.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's the fascination of having digital page turns? Like, I didn't understand that. If I wanted to turn like real pages, I would buy real pages.
Yeah, I just want to touch it and it goes.
Yeah, and so it was this. That is a very. I never fully thought of it, Bruce, until you said this. But that is a very odd thing to drive their design for such a design innovative company. I just used air quotes on the podcast. Yeah.
Well, you can because we're visual, so
Yeah.
we should be doing some
And
visual.
not that I'm saying like they're really. I don't know why I did that because they are a design innovative company, but those parts of the OS are just really odd that they're still there. I mean, they said they did this from the ground up to do a new one, but they did it from the ground up, but they have the same look of it.
So let's talk about some other happenings and things going on since we've not talked for a while.
Can I jump back to the Kindle?
Still?
Yes.
Go on. Yeah.
Like practical use of the Kindle.
Yes,
I just bought a Kindle, as I mentioned on an earlier podcast. And Laura, do you use the Kindle for your classes?
I do. I have an older Kindle than you, but I use a Kindle for reading multiple journal articles on the go.
Yeah, so I use it for all my journal articles. I have to read like 30 leadership books over the course of my 3 years, and they're books that are the typical leadership. But so they're Kindle editions. Some of my learning theories and stats and designs like that's not going to be on the Kindle. But man, it has expedited my reading ability. The fact that it has the text to voice. So I can listen to a journal article being played from my Kindle through my car is amazing. And so the Paperwhite, had that been around when I was there, and that's the backlit. Had that been around when I was purchasing a few months ago, that would have been my Kindle of choice. But reading is so simple. Taking it with me to work, reading at lunchtime, listening to articles in the car. I know e-readers, not just the Kindle, but e-readers have not really, they're not that prevalent on college campuses like people thought they would be. But I would still bet on that eventually.
Yeah, the issue is a lot of textbooks, like you said, are not on them. And so if you go and where do you go? Amazon is your key provider to finding a textbook. You don't see a whole lot of them offered. And this is still going back to publishing rights. We talked about this when we met with Flat World Knowledge. We consider other kind of open access books and resources. Some of your stats books, like there's one or two online, but there's a lot of publishers who don't publish, or they package with McGraw-Hill and Pearson, who partner with Blackboard. So a lot of that access to textbooks for our undergrad population is the majority I'm thinking about on campus, really still don't have the access, or it's packaged as a course and you have to buy a specific textbook with a code to go to your online quizzes and whatnot. Because Firka, my partner in crime, he's in classes for the first time. And he's like, I have to buy this $237 book that I can't just get online or get from Amazon because it has this code. And then he makes me wait in line to get it on the campus. But that's the reality is it's a business model that's still not chipped away yet for at least our undergrads.
I think that's a good point. Is it seems like a lot of companies are, Kindles and the tech end we're going to be seen as a huge threat to the textbook monopolies. But it seems like that, and I've seen it here, that they're using that to make more money. Is that you can't go buy that book online. You have to get it at your bookstore, or you have to pay a premium for that. So they're using that business model. They're embracing it in a way that it's not going to be a threat, and they're going to monopolize that, which is fascinating because everybody's like, oh, this is going to kill. No, they're smart business people, and they're making it work.
I don't think by going to a Kindle, though, means it has to be that much cheaper. I mean, I think they can still be outrageously priced textbooks. I mean, I think they should be cheaper, but because you don't have the print, you don't have the shipping, you don't have that kind of cost on there. But I think eventually, and maybe Pearson doesn't have books available on Kindle, or McGraw-Hill have on Kindle. Maybe they have their own device. Maybe they have an application you can get through the Kindle Fire, or something like that, where they're still, they're still the seller. The big loser here could be the campus bookstore. I mean, if Pearson, if they realize we don't need the middle person, we can sell it directly via an electronic device to the students or to the faculty. I mean, the bookstores can be the loser in that situation.
Yeah, and I won't talk about it this week because we're going to keep it to a quicker podcast today, but I will share with you, there's other people on the market who are doing this, and they're already out there challenging both the publishing industry and the bookstore model, because the Atlantic actually published around a new one called Ginkgo Tree, and they develop course packs, so I'll tweet this out. And their course packs, they actually offer customizable, where you can put multimedia, write your own courses, and take old textbooks on your shelf and have it digitized, where they respect licensing and copyright, but they're creating digital course packs that students can access. And they may not have a specific Kindle or device, but it doesn't matter anymore because it's web and mobile ready. And more of our students are bringing things to the classroom, whether it is a phone that is smarter, or it is a tablet, or it is a laptop. You see more of those coming to the classroom, or wanting to bring them because they type quicker, or they prefer to take notes in a different way, or they're expected to collaborate and work in groups. So I think that's going to be an interesting model. So I'll share this with you, and I do promise to do like a demo with them and post it at some point.
I'm thankful that my faculty has thought of textbook cost in designing our program. I have an education, research, and design and book that I get to use for 3 different classes, because it would be impossible to hit that entire book through one class anyway. Our leadership class is all journal articles that are available through our Academic Search Complete, library research, and so. I mean, I'm still spending a lot on textbooks, but it's not the one semester $500 or $600, and then I don't get to use them again. So they're already built in, and I get to reuse those books.
Yeah, and I think that's what it comes down to, is something around instructional design, something around pedagogy, and something around kind of where the faculty are at. And you won't see that shift until you see programs specifically. So you'll see education, you'll see some of the computer science, as well as ed tech and some other areas kind of doing their own thing, where you have more articles, or you have more access to things online, using that a bit more. But there's more departments consider that, chemistry and physics.
And our legislature may get involved in this, or other legislatures may get involved. California passed a law 2 or 3 years ago that all their books have to be digital by 2020. And so, and maybe they did that in 2010, so I gave them 10 years to do that, and that's going to push that forward some. Our legislature, Laura, our legislature in Texas may get involved, because they're really, even though they're cutting educational funding, they're still concerned about overall costs for students. So it wouldn't surprise me if they came and did something that would try to rein in, textbook costs, these other kind of fringe costs that they can help kind of control things. And I'm sure they'll pass some like outrageous legislation that can't be governed or do anything anyway to private companies, but it doesn't stop them from trying.
Mm-hmm. The other things coming up, I don't know if you guys were thinking about, there's a couple of things that updates we want to say. Alumni Choose Our Friend has changed their name and rebranded to Student Launcher, putting students first, so I just want to say kudos to them. Both Julie and Julie Larson, our friend, and Tom Kriegelston, just to shout out, because we've had them on the show, so we want to give that update, which I think is great. It makes sense.
And is it studentlauncher.com?
Studentlauncher.org. And I'll tweet that out, yeah.
Any other news, updates, happenings? There's like 15 phone announcements, none of which I think we should talk about.
Well, I guess we should say we'll probably come back and be podcasting bi-weekly again. We sort of have our acts together.
Yes. My act is kind of together.
I'm getting there.
Okay, good. So we'll probably do our best to kick this back in October, is my guess. But if you have any requests for us, tweet at CTCX or at Break Drink to let us know. what you want to talk about, what you want to learn about. There's a couple. One that I thought would be good for the future show, just to toss out ideas, is things that we need a show where we share our tips and tricks. So we do things to be efficient and smart and good, and
Right.
we've done one on like RSS before, but maybe there's other simple hacks that we could share, whether we're blogging or doing video editing or, I think it would be a helpful thing for some of our listeners, / us, because I learn from you when you share too.
Yeah. Cool. And if people haven't seen TED Ed, we should come in here and do like a TED Ed demo. That is a great platform. I finally created an account and went in and saw how it worked. It's not just watching TED Talks on YouTube. Like, there's a lot more to that, and how you can use it for, education on your campus, use it as a student platform, student leadership, student learning platform on your campus. So I think and a few other shows will come up and do that. Also, have my hands-on with TED Ed.
I think that's a great idea. Doing a whole show on that. It's fantastic.
I like that. I think we could do some demo shows, maybe have some guests again. I think that'd be great.
So it looks like my October calendar is very scary to look at it. However, Mondays are mostly free.
I like how you say they're mostly free. That's good. So when
Except for the 15th, which is Tecuspa here in San Antonio, where Eric Stoller will be in town.
Look out, SA.
Yes.
Jeez, we don't need him in this podcast. No, I'm just joking. Do we want to come back on the 1st or the 8th? That's my question to you. And we'll let her listen.
I say the 8th, and then we can come back again on the 22nd. And I shouldn't have excuses then.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Any other updates before we sign off? Things that you want our listeners to know about, happening conferences, whereabouts?
NASPA Tech is coming up, and because I could not go this year, I haven't paid attention to it as much. I hope people are going to that. That's all I have to say about it. Maybe we can find someone from NASPA to come chat about that. I don't remember when it is, though.
October 25th to 27th in Indianapolis, coming up. Yep.
I just knew that I had a class. That's why I couldn't go.
I might go. We'll see. I've got some more time around that time.
Laura doesn't really plan. She's like, yeah, I go to that one.
Well, no, it depends on a couple of things. It does depend on school because I teach full time and I take school. But I think that Indianapolis is an easier one to get to for me. So I'm not going to Montreal, but Julie and I are going to Nashville first week in October. She's heading up the social media back channel for the advising conference. So
awesome.
Yeah, and we're doing a good workshop, and maybe I'll have Julie come in and we could do a how to plan a tech plan if you're going to go through project management is essentially what it is. So coming up with a tech plan, pitch, and follow through of what you would do to launch a proposal. So maybe we'll come and do that.
We should do that because we did a communication plan this year, and then tech is a huge part of that. Is how is what information do we have and how we're going to share it and feed it through, and the kind of pipes it goes through. And so that'll be a great kind of thing together for what we did here and what she's planning there.
Cool.
All right, so it's like we have a lot to talk about coming up soon.
We'll get organizing, but we'll see everyone on the 8th then, it sounds like,
Yep.
of October.
All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your week.